who I like to call the real Amazonian queen, Patty Jenkins, the director of Wonder Woman! Oh my gosh.
You guys, thank you.
So, I'm so excited to have you here. I know that this has been a long time coming. I, luckily enough, have gotten to be a part of the journey along the way with you. And I know that some of the fans in here got to see the full film tonight, but not everybody did.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. I know there wasn't a screen big enough for everybody, but for those of you who did, thank you for coming, and those of you who didn't, I hope you see it and you enjoy it when you do. Thank you guys.
But I have to say, because of how awesome Patty is, she's not gonna let you guys be here and not get to see something really cool, right?
True.
So do you have a little something for everybody in here?
I do. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. So when listen, I wanted to make this movie for a long, long time myself, and it's because I believe in the genre. I believe in the way that Superman 1 changed my life when I was a little kid and I saw it and I was Superman. And so one of the things I loved the most and I enjoyed the most was the tone and trying to really make it fully dimensional, have every kind of, great moments and humor and love and a character story and a great cast that made it a rich and exciting experience. One of which we have here tonight.
Yeah.
Lucy Davis, everybody. I can't resist because I'm so excited that she's here. And I can't dance right here. So happy to see her. One of my favorite people. So amazing. So anyway, what we did is we put together a group of scenes that kind of just have a little sampling of different flavors of the movie for you guys to take a look at tonight.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right, and make sure you guys know footage of this character come to life and seeing what you guys all put together as a team. First, I have to ask, I know that there's a lot of creators in here. I know that sometimes it can feel really overwhelming when you take on a massive project. And I know for you, Wonder Woman was a character that you'd been wanting to work on for a really long time. How do you kind of get over that hump of just saying, can I do this, and just actually getting into it and making it happen?
You know, it's funny, I had been talking about it for so long. I had been talking about it for 10 years and meeting with them periodically, and then I'd move on and I'd be doing something else, and then I had a child and they sent me the script right when I was pregnant and were like, do you want to? And I was like, oh, not now, I can't do it right now, And so I think that the duration of that availed me the opportunity to think, well, I love this character. And listen, I'm not the only one, lots of other people do too. But as the years went on, I thought, whoever does this needs to truly love this character and want to honor them. So listen, I don't think I'm the greatest filmmaker in the world, but I'd like to try as much as anyone. And so, so by the time, but I had a very clear vision for how I wanted to do it and the kind of movie I wanted to make. And I've been around the block enough that I don't think it's a favor to anybody to take on a movie if there's a difference of opinion about that, because then you just fight for years.
Yeah.
So it really was magical that I'd been saying I wanted to do it in a certain way, and all these years later, Warner Brothers found themselves wanting to do it in the same way and remembered me, obviously. And we came together in this wonderful moment, and great thanks to my producer, Rebecca Robin, sitting right here. Really kept saying it.
Another Wonder Woman.
Yeah. And so, so it sort of happened. There was never any time to really stop and think about it. It was already off to the races, and I had been saying that for so long. But of course, it's super sobering. It's funny because people have asked me so many questions about, was it intimidating, the pressure of being a woman director or whatever. Nothing ever eclipsed the pressure of being the one with the duty to try to make a great Wonder Woman. And so from day one, I was like, that is so important to so many people, the way that Superman 1 was important to me, and nothing ever superseded that from the day I took the job.
Well, and I think kind of hearing that perspective on it, where I don't know who's been on social media today or yesterday, but some of the reactions to the movie have been coming out. The embargo is not lifted till the 31st, but we can come out and say how we felt about the movie. And I know you've just been paging through all of them. What does it feel like to hear the response?
Listen, long may it last, but this is a movie that I, as much as anyone, heard people saying, nobody's going to like a movie like that, you know, for years. And
Not
so
true for anybody in here, right? Right, you guys?
Thank you. For me, I could cry myself to see her fan base show up, to see people respond to the movie in the way that we hoped and dreamed. Not everybody will, but the people who are, were so grateful for the support, and were so blown away to have gotten through to somebody, anybody, that it gets through to say thank you so much for supporting what we were trying to do.
And I think
for everyone.
What comes across so much too is where you're talking about wanting to have a clear idea of who she is. There have been so many different kind of takes and incarnations of her throughout comics, and I think it stays very clear throughout the film, the Wonder Woman that you wanted to create, that you wanted all the fans to get to see.
Good, I love that. It makes me super happy.
And I know you mentioned this before, we've talked about it a few times, but Superman 1 being such an inspiration, and you guys got to see that alley scene in one of the clips here. Can you talk about how that was kind of an homage to Superman and what Richard Donner did in the Superman 1?
Yeah, oh yeah, it was so fun to do that. And there's even another little homage in the movie. So I find that to be such a perfect film, because it's dealing with very adult themes, but it could reach even a child, and was a great time to watch. How wonderful to inspire people to want to be a hero, to want to be a better person. And how do you do that? And how do you learn how to be a loving, wonderful person while wielding these powers? Like, wow, what a thing. So, but when in my many rewatching experiences of that movie, that alley scene I loved. And when Diana gets to Man's World, I was like, we have to have a moment where Diana's encountering the problems of Man's World, and what a beautiful opportunity to pay a direct homage to that scene, because it's so tricky in Superman 1. I don't know, those of you who remember, those of you who don't. Superman's in the alley, and Lois Lane is such an amazing character in that movie with such great dimension, which also inspired how we approach Chris Pine. It's like, no, they gotta be a great, full-blown, wonderful participant in this story. But it's kind of like Superman, she's taking on the mugger, and Superman catches the bullet without her noticing it, and then you notice that he's got it in his hand. So this time I loved the fact that he's saying, stay back, and then yet he's caught the bullet again, and it's like, Steve's no dummy. So Steve's like, that's awkward, but that's useful. That's slightly uncomfortable for me as a man, but at this moment, also very helpful.
He's super masculine. He's like, yeah, okay, go ahead. You can protect me in this moment. We can do it together.
And I love that about their dynamic. Like, who's the guy who's like, this is not exactly something I know how to deal with, but I've been needing someone like you for quite some time, you know? So you have that tension between the two of them.
Exactly. I mean, every guy needs a girl who can fend off bullets at any moment, right? And talking even more about that scene, any superhero movie, I feel like you can get really lost in either the stunts or the CGI and the effects that you're going to put in. And I know that in that scene in particular, you guys built out the alley, and there was some CGI stuff in there. Can you talk about, for the creators out there, what stuff was CGI and what stuff was practical?
Yeah, that scene is not too CGI. You know, it's not too CGI. Most of those shots are extremely straightforward, except for the bullets. And the lasso obviously becomes CGI, but for the most part, we really approached that in quite a straightforward way. Yeah, and that's sort of a fun thing to do in like a reality-based movie, is to try to have a little of both. I mean, we wanted this whole movie to feel like it was set in the real world. Obviously, sometimes it's a superhero that has to go CG. But for the most part, in that scene, yeah, it was fun to do it in a very practical, almost old-fashioned way.
And the thing that I loved so much was this was the moment you decided, okay, we're going to let everybody know that the bracers do fend off bullets.
Yeah,
why was that?
including her.
Yeah.
Well, because, I mean, there's been no bullets. There's been no guns, and it didn't come up on the beach, or if it did with other people, she didn't notice. So the fact that her instinct is just to try to defend Steve, and bang, like she accidentally hits it, and everybody involved is like, oh, okay. You know, I loved, it's important. I love in an origin story the moments that a superhero discovers their power and tests their own power. What an exciting, exhilarating thing to be like, oh, I can climb this, I can do this, you know. That's some of my favorite scenes of every superhero movie.
Well, and I think what it does too is it makes you almost in a way feel like it could be you, even though you're not an Amazon.
For sure.
But I feel like
that's the whole point of the genre to
Yes.
me. And it's something that is so important. It's something that's important to talk about tonight, even in this conversation as we go, which is, you know, I am a student of story. There's a reason that we have told stories for thousands of years. And every once in a while, stories go to the circus, and every once in a while, stories become, you know, an extravaganza of a different kind. But what has lasted since the beginning of time? Story. And the reason that story has lasted, I believe, is because all human beings are sharing a universal experience to a certain extent. We are all struggling for love, wondering what we would do if we could make the world a better place, wondering if we wouldn't, wondering what we would do if we did something terrible, all of these things, like every single person. So, you know, there's a reason we've been telling these same stories for so long, and this was what I was so adamant about with Wonder Woman, is like to miss the opportunity with the grande dame superhero, female superhero of all time, to be her would be such a shame. Because that's why when I was 8 years old on the playground, I knew everything about Wonder Woman, because in my head, I looked just like Linda Carter, and I was like, could do all that stuff, and that's amazing. You know, that like, you're that person, and you face those challenges, and you wonder to yourself, would I make the right choice? Could I do the right thing? I mean, this is serious stuff. And so I actually take it really seriously, like the job of all of you as storytellers to influence the world, because that's what the world looks to us, no matter whether you're doing a 5-minute video or you're doing, you know, a 2-hour blockbuster. It's like we can speak to the world about their experience by speaking about your own experience. You know, it's magical. It really is. And it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everything else doesn't matter. That's the thing that I encourage everybody the most, is like, your bell is universal to a lot of people, more than you will ever know.
Well, and I think that's one of the biggest things with the character of Wonder Woman, and we saw it at Comic-Con and at WonderCon, where it's not just women who are wearing the Wonder Woman logo, it's guys that are coming out with the Wonder Woman logo. And even getting to be, I got to visit the set while you guys were filming, and just saying that it's not only super strong women that are on set, but there were amazing guys who are working on the set as well, and creating that incredible team that makes this film that you guys are gonna get to see on June 2nd. Yay, I'll be seeing it multiple times. What does that feel like for you, creating the team, putting it together? Because I know there were certain people that when Wonder Woman came up, you're like, oh, this is the DP that I really want to work with. What is it about each person that you were kind of like, yes, they're right for this job?
Well, you know, I had a tone in mind that you know, like I said, I was saying, wow, nobody right now there's a whole array of amazing superhero films being made by everybody. I'm so blown away by the variety of voices telling them in all, you know, departments. But the grand classic epic cinema, I was like, I'm not seeing that really. That seems like the right thing to do for Wonder Woman anyway, but I love that kind of film, and I want to aim for massive in that way. So I was influenced by Superman 1, as I'm saying. Indiana Jones became my second thing, because I was like, okay, cool, what's a great experience that deals with war, but that's a lot of fun, but that's a great guy who's a real earthbound guy. That became a real influence for Steve, where I was like, wow, you run Wonder Woman into Indiana Jones, that's pretty great, you know? Because Indiana Jones is the guy who'd be like, all right, you can do that one. And still be the coolest, machoest guy in the world. And then Casablanca, because I was like, I want a great, grand love story about equals, dealing with a complicated thing. And all three of those things were aiming for like, wow, okay. But that was inspiring to me, you know, to do it that way. So each partner was I mean, amazing partners, so it wasn't that hard to pick them. But Matthew Jensen and I had been about to work together on a couple other things, and I had already noticed what a talented cinematographer he was. He really has an unbelievable eye, and in our conversations knew how to aim and was interested in aiming for epic, and that's a lot to take on, but was beautiful at shooting film, but has a very modern kind of pop edge to himself. Lindy Hemming is like one of the most legendary costume designers of all time, who did the Batsuit and all the Batmans and everything else you can imagine.
The costumes.
Yeah.
Are just like mind-blowing.
Unbelievable. I mean, she built a whole world out of all of the detail. Was unbelievable. And then Aline Bonetto, who is the, had done City of Lost Children, Amelie, just these incredible films. You have this person who has done these extremely different things, and Delicatessen, and like, woof, like, wow, that's incredible. So you have these people, and they all are also very humble and very real artists. And so it's not easy to pull off this tone of a superhero in the real world and a fantasy world. So we had these very intensive meetings where we would all sit together and say, how are we going to make this 10% pop? So that if somebody walks out in a superhero suit, you're not like, oh my God, this masterpiece theater, and somebody just walked out in a super, it's like
having different actors in different movies. You're like,
yeah,
this wasn't this one,
this is another,
over here.
Yeah, this is another thing I'll encourage to everybody. This took me a moment to learn in my own career. Tone. Study it like a thing. It's not something you should ever give yourself a hard time about not knowing, because nobody does. It is a skill set that you have to look at tone and how other people are pulling it off, and then study how they're pulling it off, and then test pulling it off. And that was something that when I was a younger filmmaker, I think it was more like, oh, I should have known that. No, you should not know that. That's something that is a part of the process. And so that was a part of the process that we were really serious about. We sat around and said, okay, this color palette, this influence, that. Okay, how are we going to pull those things together? And then my editor, Martin Walsh, is, Oscar winning, had done, why am I blanking? Chicago, oh my God. Suddenly I was about to say, some made up play, Chicago, which I know so well. But he's incredible. He'd done a million other, beautiful films as well. But he's incredible, and he became he's such a beautiful storyteller. Became my partner from beginning to end, and the way he would pull things together and the ebb and the flow of it was magical. I was like, he would do things I never thought of and really controlled the rhythm of the story. So each of those people just were interested in taking that ride with me and had the skill sets to do it and elevate it beyond what I could ever do.
Well, I think it's really cool and interesting, even talking about these people that you had looked at their work in the past and kind of had them in the back of your mind to say, at some point I want to work with them. And I know you guys watching stuff on YouTube or seeing films, I do the same thing with directors or actors or people that I want to work with, keeping that running list, so that way when the right project comes up, I'm like, hey, what if I asked that person? So I think that's so cool.
My favorite thing about directing. I mean, I would do some more solitary art if I could, because it would be less stressful. But I love other artists. Yeah. And so ever since I was young, I wanted to make people feel something, but really it's these other, like, music and picture and story and actors, which I was so fascinated in how you could combine them all to do something.
And talking about bringing in the other artists, I know for you it was very important that every character had a really strong story arc, that they were in there for a purpose and a reason. And I know that we've got somebody over here who you worked with in the film. I'm gonna pop over and hand you the mic, and just if you'll, I just have to say this too, because as we were watching the clips above, she was watching it, I looked over and she was making the same face you just made right there, where she's like, and I was like, I'm gonna have you talk, and she's like, okay. Lucy, I'm gonna come over and hand this to you really quickly. Just kind of talk about what it's like working with everybody on this one, and what direction she gave you. Because I heard there was a really funny story just starting out creating the character.
No funny stories.
So serious.
Funny stories creating the character.
I heard that there was a little like Skype session that went on.
We did. I'd read through the role, and then Patty and I Skyped, and we spoke for maybe an hour. we spoke for a little about the character, and then we went off on spiritual things, and we were talking about that we think, first of all, that we think people love superhero movies because it's something that we want to be, and then we were saying, no, I think it reminds us of who we really are. So, and I think it sort of awakens this sort of magical, amazing, omnipotent part that is in all of us. And I cried several times throughout the movie. And
You're definitely not alone in that, and I cried at different parts every time I've seen it so far.
Yeah. And it was just a lot of fun. And then she said, I might put you in a curly ginger wig.
Make her unrecognizable. This beautiful woman, and then said we put her in this, and you on the first day of shooting, I couldn't believe you were like, listen, nobody should talk to me. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm just going to play this role. But yet was so amazingly, probably one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. She just did ADR and it made me laugh. It was like so funny. You really brought that character to life. So great.
I've had, it's been nearly 2 years since I got this role. And I will say this 2 years for me on a personal level has been magical. Like, there's something about this movie for me, and I think for a lot of people, who it's brought things into our lives that I never sort of imagined. So I'm really humbled to be part of it, actually. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me.
And I know for a lot of people, seeing even some of the first clips, it was like, oh my God, Etta Candy, I can't wait to see more of her. So I know that everybody in here is going to want to see even more of Etta Candy, even with the red ginger curly wig. We're all into it. We're all into it. So what was that like for you with some of the other actors really developing their character arcs?
I mean, it was such a fortunate situation where I really got to cast exactly who I wanted to cast, and such incredible actors who were the right partners. And it's funny, I had such a strange situation, such a huge movie with so many people, and yet these were really my friends, really blowing me away, and really helping each other and complimenting each other all the time. And, you know, and I felt like we had great partnerships. I love actors. It's one of my favorite things. I think you should never be afraid of actors or intimidated by actors. I think you have to think of actors as a writer. You know, the same way you are a writer or you talk to a writer, there are people who need information to develop a story and a character and all of those things, and so often their questions are really coming from where your questions would be coming from if you were a writer. And so they can be your greatest friend and ally, particularly when you join forces on a story. And then you can have a ton of information and work that they didn't have the chance to do, but they can come with something that's, well, what if I blah, 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 and you can, oh, cool, and benefit from that great idea. And so we had so much fun. Some of the riffs that were funny just got super funny, particularly like Lucy and Chris together was like, I thought we were all gonna die. We were laughing so hard those days. I mean, Gal couldn't get a word in. Just with the ding, 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 the lines would go back and forth.
I want those on the extras on the DVD or the outtakes, some of that stuff on there.
Yes, and I could watch it for hours. So funny.
And getting great actors to balance, you know, the humor and the seriousness, and even just the inspirational part of the movie is so important, and that comes across really well. But you've got to have the right fights. You've got to have the right stunts. So what was it like developing Wonder Woman and the Amazon style of fighting?
You know, what was so cool about it was that the thing that I cared about this movie the most was making every part of it track with your experience from her point of view. And so as a result, we very naturally hit the action sequences that we did, and then how she would react and approach those changed dramatically, you know, because you would say, oh, for this story, this is about her experiencing violence. This is not a story about over here. Yeah. You know, you're not, the question you're asking in this scene is not who's going to win the battle. We don't care really about we don't know any of these people. The question is, here's a young woman watching a battle for the first time. It changes how you approach a scene. And so that was fascinating because that would then turn into, and there was this Amazon beach battle where Diana is seeing this. She has grown up idealizing war and combat because she's watching people who are not at war. They're training and it looks pretty great. And then you're watching war, and suddenly it's like, it's moving so fast, it's so violent. So her point of view and seeing moments in slow motion, and it's funny because people talk about slow motion and say, slow motion is one of those things that people talk about, like they talk about voiceover, like, I'm over voiceover, and I'm like, okay. It's like saying I'm over wide lenses.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, like you arbitrary, there's all our tools.
Yeah.
They're all wonderful.
Just gonna throw that one out for
they're all wonderful for the right thing. Like, just don't do it for no reason, but do anything you want for a reason. I totally defend. I'm like, I don't care if I do the oldest school, most played out thing in the world. If it makes you feel what I want to do, I'm down. I'll do a Zoom, I don't care. Like, people are like, well, obviously you don't want to Zoom. I'm like, I might want to Zoom. I don't know what I'm going to do.
And this is why I said she's the real Amazonian queen. She's like, whatever, I'm going to do a Zoom if I want to do a Zoom.
But then I want to just call out one more person. So Gal Gadot did the most amazing job doing her stunts, and so many of the shots that you have to do. But also you need other incredible people to do things that we could never do. And we happen to have Caitlin here, who did almost all of her other stunts, including hanging from wires up in the air. Stand up. Sometimes the ugly work of like hanging really uncomfortably upside down in a way where she's blocking something and doing something and just beautifully and fluidly, helping us tell that story, and acting. Because we're having that conversation too. In this scene, there's a big difference, and this is an interesting thing about action. Action is the same as drama, There's a big difference between if you go like this, you really hateful, or you angry, or you want to punch, or if you go, oh, boom. The big difference being that one's a defensive move, and one is a show-offy move inspired by rage. These are hugely different, And so we were talking about these things all the time of like, what is this scene? What's her attitude? There are moves that Diana should never make if she's not after the greatest villain of all time. She's not going to be vicious and punching human beings in the face. Why? She doesn't have to. And so she can be incredibly badass. But like even in that fight scene that we saw, never actually stabs anybody. She takes them out. So she's moving so fast and it's so grand, but it's boom, 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 boom. Big difference between that and relishing in it. She would never need to do that. And yet she's still as badass as ever. And so that kind of thing is really fun to say. You're in a room of Germans and you got to take them out. Okay, oh boom, okay. It's a very different approach and attitude for Caitlin, for Gal, and for everybody.
Well, I love it so much that you guys are such a family, that we've got so many people here from the film that worked on it with you that wanted to come and just be with you guys tonight. But I know that there are so many people and fans here, so I'm going to toss it out to some fan questions. Raise your hand. There's one. You were so fast back there. You're up first. You're up first.
Hi. Nice shirt.
Hi, Kimmy.
I have a microphone. Hi. First off, for everyone who's a little girl or has been a little girl, thank you so much. Your inspiration from George Perez was so beautiful and perfect and spot on, and your homages and pulls from the New 52 were great. I know a lot of us, some of the people in this room have made some amazing fan stuff. There's been fan pictures and art and films and stuff. How much did you pull from that, and how did it affect your filmmaking?
Well, it's funny. I mean, going into this, you research everything about who loves Wonder Woman and why. So I always say that when I go into making something, I try to remember very clearly what the genesis of it is. And in the case of Wonder Woman, I always thought about the fans, not just because I'm trying to, I don't know, it is because I should, but it's also because all these people have been dressing up as Wonder Woman for 75 years. Like, what? There's a reason. What is it? What's the reason that I love her, that you love her, that we, what is that? How do we celebrate that and stay true to that? I invite alt versions of Diana that people have done. I think it's great. I embrace all of them. But this is the original movie, and I thought it was an incredible opportunity to really try to keep our finger on what that was. So you don't even know where you're drawing from. Am I drawing from the little girl that came and thought she was Wonder Woman, or the little girl in the wheelchair who thought she was Wonder Woman, or the grown man who found his voice in Wonder Woman? It might be anywhere. But all of those people, and what is it that they're drawn to just like I'm drawn to, that was everything to me. Of like, yes, let's never deviate from that, you know? Let's never get sucked into a situation where that's my job, you know? Everybody else is working at a studio. That's not their job. So they might say, well, maybe she would punch somebody right in the face and smile. That's my job, is to say, that's not what we want. That's not our Diana. Not this time, you know? Maybe later when she's really angry, but not here, you know? And so yes, I drew it from everywhere and everyone that loves her.
Well, I think what's so
Thank you.
What's so cool is that this is going to be the version that people are going to look to, that are starting to get to know her. You know, there are people out there who all they've seen are, you know, the cups or shirts or whatever it is, and now getting to see this version where you're like, that's my Wonder Woman. Which
yeah,
is so
that's
amazing.
crazy, but also it's exactly why I always even said to Linda Carter early on, I said, we're not the new generation saying this is my Wonder Woman. I'm talking about your Wonder Woman. I'm talking about William Marston's Wonder Woman, that you turned into another Wonder Woman, that George Perez made a great comment on Wonder Woman, that the New 52 makes a great comment on. It's the same Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I want to expand what's already been there.
Yeah, love it. All right, do we have another question? We'll go straight in the back and then we'll come up here to you. Right in the back with the red wristband. Does everyone have red wristbands?
Hello, and thanks as well. I agree with the last sentiment. Thanks for all women out there. Also, I guess I'm just curious about Hollywood, female directors, strong female leads. It has been improving over the past few years. You have like the Hunger Games and Divergent series with strong female characters. There's obviously this film and a few others. Female directors seem to be pretty rare in Hollywood. And recently I saw some articles being shared around on Facebook saying like, it's not your imagination, like advertising hasn't been that strong for Wonder Woman. Do you agree with that? And
I have the hardest time knowing, because I am in the weirdest experience of like knowing everything and seeing everything and never seeing enough and all those things. Listen, the truth is, I think there were real reasons to wait until our pocket to hit it really hard and big, and I think that was always the plan to do it. And I think we've spent as much money on the advertising of this movie as they had on many other movies before it. And so I think that it's unclear that you could point a finger to the fact that something's been shortchanged, but I always wonder if the world at large believes that she could be a major blockbuster, I don't cite anybody else or point the finger, but I always wonder, and maybe I'm being naive about it, but I've always said, I think you guys don't realize who's been knocking on the door at Halloween. That's not for nothing, And so it's interesting to me that it took so long for her to have a movie, and I don't think that there was any one reason to blame for that, but I've always thought, am I the only person who thinks that like there's a lot of people that want to see a Wonder Woman movie? And so, I love the fact that the fans took that point of view of like defending whether we're being backed up enough, and I think, it's great to be cared for in that way.
And I think one of the first times we talked about the movie, I think, was at Comic-Con. And even talking about the character of Wonder Woman, it's almost, not that it's secondary that she's a woman, but it's just this character, this is who she is, and that's part of it. It didn't have to be this thing at the forefront. So obviously it's awesome having a woman directing Wonder Woman, but it's just that we have an amazing director doing this character. And I think the online stuff, what's been so special to me is like having the conversation socially with everyone, with all the fans. And I know you've checked out stuff online that people have posted, even talking about seeing different people's versions of Wonder Woman. That almost to me felt like the most genuine advertising that a movie or a character could expect. because it was all of us saying, we want to talk about this character. This is what I'm excited about. This is me wearing my Wonder Woman shirt because this shirt wasn't out here before the movie was coming out.
Yeah, that is for real. Like that the ability of you all to reach people with your own movies and the world to reach people about our movie, like all of those, like when you make your own movie, it's amazing what the people who are watching you and listening to you can do for you. And this has been a wonderful education to me to have like the grassroots fan base be such a huge part of the functioning of this film. Like that's pretty incredible.
It's awesome. So we'll take a question right up here. I'm just gonna, oh, nope. Yeah, here. Thank you.
Hey! I'm one of the few lucky ones that got to watch it.
Oh, awesome.
And, I'm not a comic book person, and I'm not an action film person. I am a comedian, and I make awkward comedy videos on YouTube. And I was so incredibly moved by this film. God, thank you. I mean, so many reasons. I think we are at a really important time for women to rise up. And I'm so excited by the message of this movie. I'm excited by who Steve was in supporting women and showing that being that kind of man actually just makes you stronger. I'm so inspired by her message and her inability to sit passively by. And I'm so excited for my nieces to see this. I really believe that there are messages of love, healing that have been told, of course, in so many other stories, but come across so clearly here. And I do believe it's going to be a blockbuster. I do believe it's going to be the movie that we all hope it's going to be. I have so many questions, but like I want to like take you to coffee and like just really like dig in deep.
I want to take you to coffee.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you so much. I mean, I cannot tell you what it means to me when people, like all of you, like when you say that, because I couldn't agree with you more and about the world. And I feel like, you know, that was part of the duty that was put in my lap, was like, God, it's time for a new kind of hero as well, which is like, to be a hero is not easy, and it's not simple, and it's not bang, it's over. It's unbelievably complicated, and it's gonna require us being better people. And I mean, don't get me started on this, but I could go on and on. I'm quite serious about the fact that this is the story of someone we relate with, taking the journey to learn to be a hero and realizing it is so difficult, and you're not always even able to save people who deserve it. In fact, you're saving a lot of people who don't deserve it. And why do you do it then? Because that's what you believe. And like, if we all don't become the hero, we are not going to be able to save this world, because there's nobody coming. And so it means all of us, and particularly in the day and age of the internet and the day and age of like different countries colliding and different types of people, if we don't become accountable and like challenge ourselves to be more loving and thoughtful with our power, because we all are powerful, then we're not going to save the world. And so that was where, when I have Diana sitting in my hand, who stands for love and truth and beauty, and I'm saying, I can try to say something in this world about like, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be a hero. Instead, it's this other, harder, less glorious choice. So for you as a non-superhero fan, to feel that experience, which I cared about very much too, and always saying like, I want to make a great superhero movie, and I also want to make a beautiful movie that takes advantage of that to say something. That means so much to me. I won't forget what you said tonight. Thank you for that.
And I feel also like, I'm sorry, I will give it right back to you, that there's something about it. I'm so sorry, so many people have questions.
Like, if I'm gonna zoom, I'm gonna zoom.
Yeah, right? Like, I'm holding it, I'm zooming. It's like, it feels like a call to action.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love it if it became a call to action to people being a hero themselves. I would love it.
Yeah.
And little girls and little boys and everybody may be questioning themselves when they have a choice to make. It would change. I mean, it could change so much.
Yeah.
You know.
And I just have to say, you're not alone in that feeling, because every time I spend time with her, I'm like, can we be best friends? Like, I just want to talk to you about more stuff. And seeing the movie and having those feelings where it was like, within the first 5 minutes of the movie, I was like, what is on my face right now? Like, I literally, just tears, like not ugly tears, but just like, just like dripping down my cheek. And I'm like, it's because you want it, like I was saying, it's like Karate Kid, there was no movie like that for girls. And you get to see this little girl who's fighting and wants to be like part of the group, and then seeing all these women come together. It is so emotional, whether you're a comic book fan or not. And I'm glad that, you know, you're getting to hear this even more in person, not just on social media. So I know we've got another question back there. What's your name? What's your question?
Tayden, and I was wondering, like I'm a little kid. So what's your favorite quality in Diana or Wonder Woman that you want to pass on to young girls or boys out there that you just want young kids to have?
I think it's taking from what I said, which is like, you're the hero. And I mean you, not the you that could be. I mean you right now. And so every time you face a choice, taking responsibility because it's what you believe. That I'm going to make the right move. Nobody may know it, and it might not even be the easy thing to do, or it might not, whatever, but I could make it silently right now myself, because that's what I believe. That's the number one thing. And the number two thing is like, yeah, is that everybody in this lifetime takes a journey to being a hero themselves, no matter who they are. And so hoping that little boys and little girls everywhere who see it feel like a hero for that night, and it inspires that feeling in them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. We've got a question right up here, this gentleman with the glasses.
I knew I was coming here, so I asked some of my female filmmakers from YouTube on Twitter what questions they would ask. And one that I got was, now that you have directed this, what I believe is going to be my favorite film of the year, do you think this will open the door for women directors of other superhero movies, not just a female superhero?
Yeah, I would hope so, because I think that what this movie could change is, I think that there was an idea that only a very small kind of certain kind of people liked action movies or superhero movies or whatever, and that's where the money was. I think what things like The Hunger Games and Divergent and so many things are starting to change is everybody sees there's a universal story to be told with other people, and there's also universal money to be made with all kinds of people who want to see it. And so, you know, I feel like it was a special relationship to direct this as a woman and have it be a woman. But the greatest gift about that was that I didn't think about the fact that she was a woman at all. I was just directing a hero, trying to be a hero. And that's possible from anyone to anything. And so I don't only want to make movies about one kind of anything, but hopefully the world will start to see that anybody could be a universal character, and anybody could direct that universal character if you're talking about, you know, something that we all feel and experience.
We'll take some more questions. We'll go right in the back over there. The red shirt. And a red bracelet. Oh wait, you're wearing a Wonder Woman dress?
Yes. Topic one.
Love it.
So my question is, you said you had an idea of, you know, of the kind of Wonder Woman movie you wanted to make. But you know, before you got to make this one, you know, she was already in Batman v Superman. And then Zack Snyder, you know, he's gonna have her in Justice League. So how was it like, kind of working maybe with him and trying to make sure like that all kind of works? You know, your vision and then what he already did in BVS and he was gonna do in Justice League.
Well, it actually worked out really nicely because of the time periods. So Zach hadn't finished BVS yet when I started making Wonder Woman. And so, first of all, the story of the casting is like a miracle because I am so picky about casting. Ever since I wanted Charlize Theron and everybody thought that was, you know, like a very odd idea. And I was like, oh, she is the spirit that I believe is the right spirit for this. I was like, ooh, when it comes to women or anybody, you have to be following an internal thing that you believe in. And so when I found out, after saying I'd wanted to do this for a long time, when I found out that Zach had cast Wonder Woman, not knowing them at all, my heart skipped a beat because I was like, oh my God, what are the odds that we would pick the same person? Great, who, that's unlikely, and that is everything. And then I started to watch Gal more carefully, and I started to see everything about her, and I was stunned. When I was like, oh my God, and really it's not a big surprise. They were looking for the spirit of Wonder Woman and someone who had all of that in them too. And they found her. Like, boy, did they find her. And I mean, I'll never stop singing the praises of the miracle of Gal Gadot. So they made Batman vs Superman, but I hadn't seen it when I started to work on Wonder Woman. So the truth is that's 100 years later, and she's lived a whole arc, but nevertheless, her origin story of who she is and how she came to this world is what it is. And as long as hundreds of years later, she's you know, it was a beautiful portrait, a vignette, but it wasn't setting up some complicated thing I had to build up to. It was a vignette. So they were incredibly supportive to, great, you're a different filmmaker with a different vision, and we want all of these heroes to have a different film. And in this case, it's pretty easy to do because you're doing something that takes place in 1918. So, like, great, go tell her origin story. And then Justice League wasn't being done yet. And so, you know, it was a cool thing. It's a cool thing to be in a universe where you're you're in a camp of like other people making other films over there. But we got to be almost, you know, pretty autonomous making our film. And then I think it was interesting for Zach to see Wonder Woman progress and say, oh wow, these are shades of Wonder Woman I didn't get to explore, and I think that influences Justice League. So it was a lovely progression, and you know, that was the beauty of making a standalone film.
Thank you.
All right, we've got time for one more question. Let's go right over here to this gentleman in the blue polo shirt.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Thanks Patty for being here. I just wanted to say, as a comic book fan, you know, this is a character that's been iconic and has existed for 75 years. And I believe firmly that this is a movie that should have been made a long, long time ago. And I want to thank you for making it because that truly does make you a Richard Donner, a person that establishes an iconic character and a legacy. And I believe what this movie is, what it represents, and what it has the potential to be could definitely shape and reshape the industry going forward from here. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I should be so lucky to be mentioned with all the Richard Donner and all of those things, so I super appreciate it, and I hope it lives up to that. I really do.
I know it definitely will. I wanted to ask, what ideas and what comic books and what inspirations are you going to draw from for Wonder Woman 2?
Great question to end on. I love it.
Well, I can't really talk about that. But listen, I think the greatest thing is the feeling that I have about the future of Wonder Woman, because this was a long, hard road, and really long when you think about how long her journey has been and how many people have tried to make her movie and how incredible that's been. And sometimes I have these moments where really just have finished the film now. But sometimes now I think about it and I say, oh my God, like now she's here. Now we can have Wonder Woman do all kinds of stuff in this world. And that is so exciting to me and inspiring to me in this world, to have a superhero who like stands for something social about her belief in us. Like, that's amazing. and played by someone as wonderful as Gal. It's like that is very exciting to me. So there's 75 years of things to draw upon, and you know, Gal Gadot won't live long enough to do all the films that I wish she would.
Unless she really is Wonder Woman.
Hopefully she's Wonder Woman. Hopefully we'll all find out that she's Wonder Woman and she can work for the next 200 or 300 years.
I love it. And what I love so much too is even talking about this, where we're talking about perfect timing of everything, where, you know, there's so much stuff going on in the world, and even with girls coming up and wanting to do more stuff, I just want to say a huge thank you to the YouTube space and to Google, because they're doing so many great things right now. They're doing programs called Made with Code for girls to really get more involved in the science and technology industry. So again, it's just perfect timing with everything. And
I want to say something about that, which is I have an 8-year-old son, and it rocks my world, his relationship to YouTube. And like all of the kids that he goes to school with, this is it. This is the whole world. And like to watch like Dan TDM be like the messiah of like his school in England when we're living there, and every kid there is like, Dan TDM! I'm like, oh my God, and Dan's a great guy, thank God, you know? But the influence that so many people on YouTube, like this, you know what excites me the most? There was a period of time I stopped watching drama completely. Because I was like, I started watching reality TV, and my attitude was, do a better job, man, and I'll watch it. But like, this is dry and played out, and so I'm gonna watch these real people talk to each other and like a Survivor, you know? Like, because at least I was getting like life, real life. And I felt like it was under such a stranglehold of like these big things, like dictating something. This has changed the world. Like YouTube is changing the world, and the fact that like, everything I said about story, it's human experience, living human experience. So like, I know you guys know this is what you do, but like, don't stop believing in the power of your experience, no matter how lo-fi it is. Like, that's nothing. Lo-fi, hi-fi, doesn't matter. You could do something on a stage by yourself with nothing. And you know, I've seen people do those shows and have a huge impact in theater. So it's like, it's incredible what you guys are doing, and I ask you all to like, to don't take it lightly, what you guys can do. You know, don't take it lightly, even if you're just having a great time. Do that too. You know? But anyway, thank you guys so much. I loved coming.
Before everybody goes, when you talk about social media, you can't talk about it without talking about selfies. So I would love to get a selfie with Patty and the whole audience, and everybody doing their power pose. So you guys want me to do that? Yeah?
All right.